Hey everybody, welcome to my latest Tiger of the Day video here on YouTube today. Today is July the 25th, and I have decided to pick somebody whose birthday it is today who either currently plays for or used to play for the Detroit Tigers, my favorite baseball team. And I decided to do this as a sort of a who am I kind of mystery thing. So some of this kind of sounds like the old rest of the story, like Paul Harvey used to say on the radio. So we'll tell some good stories here and see if you can figure out who I am, who I'm talking about by the end of this video. So here we go. I began life with 2 strikes against me. I was born with club feet. My mother had taken a fall during her pregnancy, and family members think that was the cause. But who knows? I had severe trouble walking until I was about 12 years old. After a series of operations and being outfitted with special shoes that I wore throughout my life, I went on to overcome this disability and become a Major League Baseball player. My brothers before me were all good athletes. All 3 had played baseball for their high school team. I was determined to follow in their footsteps. But first, I had to have the operations and wear the corrective shoes. When I did, I not only would follow in their footsteps as a star athlete at Fairfax High, but created my own footnote and more when I starred in the 1959 World Series. At Fairfax High in Los Angeles, I was also a star basketball player. I captained the basketball squad and set a school record by scoring 22 points in a game. I dazzled the baseball world in 1959 when I pitched the Dodgers into the World Series against the Chicago White Sox, and then proceeded to shut down the Sox in the series to give the Dodgers the baseball title. For my efforts, I was awarded a car by Sport Magazine, the baseball award at the Los Angeles Times dinner, and was wined and dined by the New York baseball writers when they presented me with the Babe Ruth Award. Quite a feat by a man born with deformed feet. It wasn't easy getting to the big leagues for me. I struggled in the minor leagues until I came up with a slider. Then, in the middle of the 1959 season, I was called up to the Los Angeles Dodgers and zoomed to meteoric heights by helping them win the National League pennant and winning 2 games and saving 2 more in the World Series against the Chicago White Sox. I pitched 12 2/3 innings, giving up 1 run and 8 hits in the series. For the first time in World Series history, neither team had a starting pitcher completing a game. A most unlikely hero, I astounded the baseball world with my heroics. I was born in Los Angeles, California, on July 25, 1935. With both feet malformed, I underwent operations at the age of 6 months to correct the deformity. I was in awe of my 3 older brothers, Stan, Norm, and George, all of whom became star athletes at Fairfax High. The Dodgers signed me to a contract as soon as I finished high school and assigned me to their farm team in Santa Barbara. Showing the promise that was to come much later, I pitched a shutout against Bakersfield, but I was only 18 and it was rarely used, winding up the season with a 1-2 record. The next year, I was with Bakersfield in Great Falls with a combined 7-8 record. It was a tough road for me. I admitted I had a lot to learn. At Newport News in the Piedmont League, I wound up with a 5-10 record. It looked as if I would spend the rest of my baseball days in the minors. In 1956, I was sent to the Class A Pueblo Dodgers in the Western League, where I won 13 and lost 13. But I was getting better and had hopes of soon making it to the majors. At Pueblo, I met Sally Swearingen and married her on December 27th of that year. The 1957 season found me grinding away in Fort Worth with 48 strikeouts and a 10-10 record. In 1958, I was up with the Dodgers, but I was wild and ineffective. Sent down to Spokane, I won 6 and lost 14. To the rescue came Big Brother Norm. Over the winter of 1958, I worked with Norm and developed a slider. Pitching in Maracaibo in the Cuban League, I used my newfound slider and did well. For the first time, I felt I was ready for the big leagues. In 1959, I was with St. Paul using my fastball and slider to good advantage. On Independence Day of 1959, the Dodgers called me up. I started out with the Dodgers by losing 2 one-run decisions. But the best was yet to come. I won 7 games in a row and was credited with 3 saves. Hurling 94 innings, I gave up only 75 hits, walked 43, and struck out 72. I appeared in relief 14 times, pitching 36 1/3 innings with an amazing earned run average of 0.74. I then topped it all off by my sensational performance in the World Series against the Chicago White Sox. I owed much to Norm. Norm also helped Sandy Koufax, who later became one of the great pitchers in the history of baseball. In fact, the 3 of us were close buddies and would go out on the town together. One time in Philadelphia, Sandy wanted to go to a Chinese restaurant, so we hopped into a cab and went to a restaurant, but Sandy said no to eating at this restaurant. 3 more restaurants were visited before Koufax said okay. I asked Koufax, "What's the big difference?" Sandy replied, "If you go to a Chinese restaurant, it has to have an awning. This one has an awning, so it must be good." Norm and I, from Southern California, looked at each other, not comprehending that Sandy, a New Yorker, always looked for Chinese restaurants with awnings, for that was what all Chinese restaurants in New York had. On May 7, 1960, Norm and I were battery mates. We became the first and only Jewish brother battery in Major League history. Sitting out in the bullpen can be boring at times. Stan Williams and I worked up a scheme for robbing a bank when we were in Philadelphia. Nothing ever came of it. Right across the street from Connie Mack Stadium was a bank. Now it was the getaway game in Philly, and we, lolling out in the pen, had time to fantasize. The plan was to wear street clothes under our uniforms, take off our uniforms, and about the 7th or 8th inning, go over and rob the bank. Then come back to the park, put the money in our baseball bags, and since it was getaway day, the bags would go directly to the private plane of the Dodgers. Such are the things players dream up while indolently sprawled out in the noonday heat. I wonder what would have happened if we were called in to relieve. Sometimes the heat will do that to idle minds. In 1961, manager Walt Alston fined both me and Koufax for breaking the curfew at the Dodgers spring training camp in Vero Beach, Florida. Alston caught us coming in at 1:45 a.m. I ran to my room and locked the door, but the usually mild-mannered Alston pounded so hard on the door that I finally opened it up and took my punishment. Alston had hammered so hard on the door that he broke the diamond-studded ring he was wearing. We said we had made a pizza run to Port St. Lucie and misjudged the time. I stayed with the Dodgers through the 1963 season and then was traded to Detroit for Lou Johnson and $10,000 on April the 9th, 1964. My first Tiger game. I made my first appearance for the Detroit Tigers on April 17, 1964 against the Los Angeles Angels at Tiger Stadium. This was our second game of the season. We had won on opening day. With only 4,851 people in the stands on a Friday afternoon, I relieved our starter Frank Leary in the 4th inning after he went the first 3. We were down 5-1 and manager Chuck Dressen brought me in to start the 4th. Bobby Knopp grounded out to first baseman Norm Cash unassisted. Then I struck out both Dean Chance and Albie Pearson looking. Bill Freehand was my catcher. In the 5th, I retired Billy Moran on a foul pop fly to Cash, then walked Jim Fregosi. With Lee Thomas at the plate, Fregosi tried to steal second, but was thrown out, freehand to shortstop Dick McAuliffe. I ended up walking Thomas, but got Joe Adcock to ground back to me, and I threw him out to end the inning. Gates Brown pinch hit for me in the bottom of the 5th, then Fred Gladding took over on the mound for us in the 6th. We went on to lose 8-3. My best Tiger game. The best game I pitched for Detroit was on April 12, 1965 against the Kansas City Athletics at Municipal Stadium. This was on opening day in front of a crowd of 18,109 on a Monday night. Manager Bob Swift brought me in to start the 7th inning in relief of our starter Mickey Lolich, who had been pinch hit for by Bill Roman in the previous half inning. We were ahead 3-2, and John Sullivan was my catcher. I started off by getting Jim Landis to swing and miss at strike 3. Dick Green grounded back to me, and I threw to first baseman Norm Cash for the second out. Then Jim Gentile, pinch hitting for pitcher Mo Drabowski, lined out to left fielder Jim Northrup to end the inning. In the 8th, we scored 2 runs on a home run by Sullivan to go up 5-2. In the bottom of the inning, Bert Campaneris grounded back to me, and I threw to Cash for the out. Mike Hirschberger grounded out shortstop Dick McAuliffe to Cash, and I struck Ed Charles out swinging. We made it 6-2 in the ninth on an RBI single by Sullivan, scoring Cash from second. I locked down the save of Lolich's win in the bottom of the ninth as Ken Harrelson grounded out McAuliffe to Cash. Tommy Reynolds lined out to right fielder Al Kaline, and Billy Bryan grounded back to me, and I threw to Cash to end the game. We won 6-2. My last Tiger game. My last appearance for Detroit was on June 27, 1967, against the Cleveland Indians at Tiger Stadium. We had a record of 36-31 and were leading Cleveland by 2.5 games in the standings. Before a crowd of 30,266 on a Tuesday night, I came into the game to start the 6th inning, the Indians ahead 4-1, after Dick Tracewski had pinch hit for our previous pitcher, Mike Marshall, in the bottom of the 5th. Duke Sims led off with a single to right fielder Al Kaline. With Chico Salmon at bat, I made a wild pitch to Bill Freehan and Sims went to second. Salmon then doubled to left fielder Willie Horton, scoring Sims to make it 5-1. I got Larry Brown to ground out second baseman Dick McAuliffe to first baseman Norm Cash, and Salmon advanced to third. Sam McDowell hit a fly ball to center fielder Jim Northrup for a sacrifice fly, scoring Salmon to make it 6-1. After Lee May doubled to Kaline, manager Mayo Smith came out and replaced me with Pat Dobson. My Tigers career came to an unceremonious end. My final statistics with the Detroit Tigers. In 4 years, I appeared in 152 games, all in relief, finished 90 of them, with 37 saves. I had 18 wins and 17 losses, with a 3.85 ERA in 250 1/3 innings. I allowed 224 hits, 119 runs, 107 of them earned, 23 home runs, 120 walks, 14 of them intentional, had 187 strikeouts, 8 hit by pitches, 1 balk, 19 wild pitches, and 1,085 batters faced. I was third in the American League with 20 saves in 1966. 2 days later, after my last game with the Tigers, I was traded by the Tigers to the Houston Astros for Jim Landis. I stayed there for the rest of the season of 1967. Good Lord, I should stop eating peanuts when I'm doing these videos, I tell you right now. I have to come up with some different kind of snack that I can eat while I'm working on videos so I don't croak while I'm reading a friggin' script here. Jeez. Alright. So let's see. I stayed with the Astros for the rest of the season of 1967 and went to spring training with them in 68. I was released on April the 2nd at the end of spring training. On July 1st, the California Angels signed me as a free agent. 1968 would be my last year as a major leaguer. My 11 years in the majors resulted in 53 wins and 44 losses, with a respectable earned run average of 3.67. I was not finished with baseball. I was the pitching coach for the Seattle Rainiers in the Pacific Coast League for the rest of the 1968 season, having been released on July 7th by the Angels. I returned to the majors as a pitching coach during the 1977 and 1978 seasons with the Pittsburgh Pirates. From 1979 to 1980, I was a coach with the California Angels. If it were not for my memorable 1959 season, I would probably be known only as a journeyman relief pitcher. But for one shining moment, I lit up the baseball world with an astounding performance during the 1959 season and the World Series. A quote in the Talmud from Judah Hanassi describes my baseball career. Some win eternity after years of toil, others in a moment. I did both. After years of toil in the minors, I made it to the show, and in the 1959 season, in a moment of brilliance, I etched my name in baseball history. An avid golfer, I lived with my wife in Mission Viejo, California for many years after retirement. We were the proud parents of a son, Scott, and a daughter, Suzanne. I died on December 17, 2006, after a long battle with cancer. I was 71. One more clue. My first and last names rhyme. So who am I? Did y'all figure it out? I am Larry Sherry. Yes, sir. So I hope you all enjoyed this little look back at one of the not great Detroit Tigers, but it's kind of like the Tiger of the Day on the Detroit Tigers TV broadcast. They choose a Tiger from anywhere in their history. It could have been a guy that played one game, or it could have been a guy who played 1,000 games and had a great career. But I had only 5 choices today among players that I could have picked for this video. And I decided to pick the guy who had the longest career overall in the major leagues. And there were actually two guys who had careers of the same length. So I had the one I chose, Larry Sherry, 11 years, from 1958 to 1968, who would have turned 91 today. The other guy, who played 11 years in the majors and was an ex-Tiger, Mick Kelleher, whose career lasted from 1972 to 1982, 11 years, and was born in 1947. So he would have turned, or he did turn, or has turned, 79 today. Then we have another guy from back in the 60s and 70s, Fred Sherman. Played from 1969 to 1976, 8 years, born in 1944. So I'm not sure if he is still alive or not, but he would have turned 82 today. And then there is Torey Lovullo, more recent Tiger, who I remember watching when I was watching the Tiger games back in the early 90s and late 80s. Played from 1988 to 1999, 8 years during that time, and was born in 1965, so he turns 61 today. And Alex Presley, who played 8 years in the majors, 2010 to 2017, and was born in 1985 and turns 41 today. But out of those 5, I picked Larry Sherry. So I hope you all enjoyed this look back at Larry Sherry, and I will be back with another Tiger of the Day video after a while, but next I'm going to work on my next singing video, which is going to be California Dreamin' by the Mamas and the Papas. I'll start that on Tuesday. So thanks for watching and listening, everybody, and remember, be here next time, because I ain't even started yet. Have a good day now.